So hey guys, welcome to another video. In today's video, what I'm basically doing is I'm doing a top 5 list of things that are available right now to stream on HBO Max. So if you're new to the service or if you don't have HBO Max yet, these are 5 titles that I think in particular are really worth your time. Everybody kind of has their own opinion of what to recommend and everything. But what I did personally is even though I know there's, numerous genres and numerous decades of film and all that other stuff and you know animation and live action films, what I really did here is I narrowed it down to about 5 titles that are really worth your time, whether it's a series, whether it's something that premiered on CNN a while ago, whether it's just an Oscar winning film or a big animated film that maybe you might have heard of but haven't seen yet. These are 5 in particular picks of mine that are available to stream right now on HBO Max. They're not one of those watch for 30 days and then they're gone kind of thing like what they're doing with the new releases from Warner Brothers right now. These are 5 titles in particular that I really believe are worth your time, that really are worth checking out at one point or another, whether you like them or not like them. These are just 5 things that I personally recommend you watching right now on HBO Max, whether you're new to the service or going to have it, or going to get it maybe when the next big Warner Brothers picture releases on their service or not. So, um, like I said, these are really not in any particular order. These are just 5 things that are on the HBO Max service right now that I highly recommend watching. So we're going to start with my first pick, which is Weird Science. This is a personal favorite of mine, probably one of my favorite from the 1980s. This is a film where 2 boys are together one weekend. The parents are out of town, and they really want to just make this perfect woman on this computer that one of them has. And this came out at a time where computers were kind of new to society. They kind of could do anything at the time. People kind of thought computers could basically do anything we could think of. And even though computers kind of sort of bring a lot of enjoyment and improvements in our lives, this is kind of at a time where computers were basically brand new. You could do almost anything you wanted to do with them on film. And the film really plays off of that. So these 2 boys, they find a way to kind of crack the code on the computer and make this perfect woman, and they kind of figure out things about themselves, figure out things about the people they go to school with and things like that through this perfect woman that could basically give them almost anything they want. And it's done over the course of a very funny film from John Hughes that I really, really absolutely love. It's probably my favorite film of his, and that's Weird Science, which you can stream right now on HBO Max. Another title is actually a series that I highly recommend. It's actually premiered on CNN in 2019. I even have a review of it here on my channel if you want to see just a review specifically for this in particular series I'm about to talk about. It's called CNN's The Movies. This is a really great show, and I really hope at some point in time you get some type of a season 2, whether it's talking about more great films that came out over the past couple decades, or maybe even worst of all time. I think that would be really fun to do, even though I don't think CNN would ever go through with that, like a worst of all time, worst of movies kind of thing. But anyway, this is just season 1 for CNN's The Movies, the thing that actually has been made by CNN. They go over different decades of film, like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and even the golden age of film, which kind of covers like Wizard of Oz and the films of the 40s, films of the 50s, and things like that. It's a really great series. They go over tons of different filmmakers and people who love film and actors and actresses and film critics, and they really talk to everybody about all these kinds of films. And it's really very interesting, even on repeat viewings, because I've seen all of these episodes when they originally premiered on CNN in 2019. Even just going back and rewatching all of these, they really have some really interesting points on certain films and films that maybe I've heard of every once in a while, but didn't quite hear about the message of, or I didn't quite know that maybe a certain director made that certain movie or things like that with it. So CNN's The Movies is also a really great series to watch on HBO Max right now, and all the episodes for are available on their service right now. Another great show that I've loved ever since I was a kid that's also available to stream right now on HBO Max, along with other Cartoon Network shows that are also available to stream from way back in the day, and that's the show Dexter's Laboratory. What's really cool about Dexter's Laboratory is they kind of had it set up where they can get away with kind of any kind of plot that they would want to for a show, because this laboratory basically allows this little boy to make almost anything that he wants. Almost anything goes. They basically start with a clean slate for every episode. So Dexter could become an adult in one episode and become a become a kid again in the following episode. Dexter could become an old man in one episode. And they obviously start with a clean slate again in another episode. So it's a really fun show that's really a lot of fun. Even kind of homages some great films and great TV shows and really cool video games and stuff like that. It's a show that I absolutely love. Almost all the episodes for it are available right now on HBO Max. I highly recommend checking out Dexter's Laboratory if you haven't seen it yet. One Best Picture that I absolutely love that's available to stream right now on HBO Max is No Country for Old Men by the Coen brothers. This truly is a great film, and it's one of those rare films that I think I like it more and more as I get older and kind of dissect it and develop it and kind of let it sit on my brain for a while. It's just one of those films where the Coens really kind of took everything in their power to take this really wonderful book from Cormac McCarthy and just make a great thriller out of it, make a great action movie out of it, make a great drama out of it. And it really does kind of play off of the idea of what if you found this briefcase full of money? You think, nobody's going to find out that you have it. You can kind of get away with anything you want with all this money available to you. But there's certain things about it, upon taking it, that you just don't quite think of. Like, what if somebody can track it? What if somebody recognizes the briefcase? What if the person tracking it has this really terrible weapon that really could just kind of kill several people on sight and things like that? And so the film really plays off of the idea of what if we have this really intriguing thing that we found someday out in the middle of nowhere, like what Josh Brolin's character did, and we just kind of run with it. And upon running with it, we kind of figure out all the things that come with bringing that thing with you that you really probably should have just left behind to begin with. And so the film plays off of this idea, and there's even a quote in the movie from Woody Harrelson that's like, you're better off not having this briefcase than having the briefcase. And that really is true. There's just so many things that this character discovers over the course of this film that really kind of represent that idea and represent that conversation that he has with him in the hospital and the things like that. And it really is a great film. So if you haven't seen No Country for Old Men, it is available on HBO Max. The ending is a little divisive. I personally like the ending because it makes you think about the film you just saw. I know a lot of people really didn't like the ending upon this film coming out in 2007, but I really like it a lot. I can totally see why it won Best Picture. You have to see No Country for Old Men if you have HBO Max. One film that I've absolutely loved over the years, in fact, my girlfriend and I rewatched this film recently for our 2-year anniversary, is My Neighbor Totoro. A lot of the Studio Ghibli films are on HBO Max right now, and I really think their most important film and the mascot of their company, because Totoro is the mascot of their company for Studio Ghibli. My Neighbor Totoro, I think, is easily my favorite Studio Ghibli film. It's just so incredibly beautiful. The story is great. I love the characters. I love the acting in it. I liked how, even on the Disney dub of the film, Dakota Fanning and Ella Fanning really were believable as these two sisters in this movie, as they were actually are real sisters in real life. And there's just so many great things to love about My Neighbor Totoro, and just so many things about holding on to those crazy things you believed as a kid, and just kind of holding on to those, and really kind of believing in yourself, and really kind of holding on to the things that really mean something to you, and to, it's okay to grieve when, you have this important person in your life that's recovering from an illness at a hospital, and kind of finding ways to reach out to people when you're going through that rough time, rather than just kind of suffering through it as you're going through it, and things like that. So My Neighbor Totoro is my number 5 pick for this video. So hopefully that, guy, starts you off with a really good picks for HBO Max if you haven't started it yet, or if you already have HBO Max and maybe you haven't heard of these titles yet and want to go into the search bar and find it after me talking about it and things like that. So those are my 5 picks for HBO Max, you guys. And hopefully if you get HBO Max or thinking about getting it, hopefully you'll check out all 5 of these titles that I mentioned here in this video.